The final speaker before the panel discussion is Jennifer Grönqvist, who is co-founder of Daya Venture, which I am involved with for full disclosure. So Jennifer, take it away.
Hi, Vivica. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I just want to say something about, I've been listening in all evening. I'm in Gothenburg, so it's evening here. And I so appreciate all of the deep dives in the beginning on diabetes and maternal health. Also, Iris, I've heard it before, but I love it. And now also Tim on pneumonia and vaccines. I'm not a medical person myself. I happened into this industry through technology but it's going on 10 years soon, and I'm calling myself a medical creative now. I think it's a criminal thing to do, but I'm so interested in everything, and I get to get into all of these areas in my current work. So I'm going to tell you just about Daya. Okay, let me see. I just have to share it correctly. And percent. Okay, so I'll be going very broadly over what we're doing, and I'm going to brush over a lot of interesting projects. So if there's something that tickles you, you can reach out to me afterwards, because this is going to be really fast. So Daya is a femtech venture studio, and if you're in the States, you know what a venture studio is. It's very common in Europe. It's not mainstream at all, but we build femtech startups, and we intend to use the gender health gap into enabling women to become very successful tech entrepreneurs. It's actually a two-sided problem or coin or whatever. Women's health, sure, you could view it as this great injustice that's been allowed to go on for basically all of human history. But on the other side, it's also a big juicy business opportunity, and we choose to view it as both. Daya, these are the three founders of Daya. We're a lot more now, but we met during the pandemic. And this is very important because we were remote, and Daya continued to grow as a remote-first company, and this has enabled us in so many ways. But Jenny in white to the left, she's a biotech engineer, but with a passion for people, and she wanted to get into that. She's our chief people officer now, and I usually say she's the most important person in the company. Malin to my right is our CEO, and she is a gender studies major she's also a business investor, an angel investor. And I came from tech, and we were all frustrated in different ways. For me, the case was I had been working with men only for 25 years. That was not a problem, and I didn't mind it. I never thought about it, but the tech that we were building was not humane, it was not valuable, and I could sort of, see, following the trends, that we're sort of moving in the wrong direction with a lot of things. And if you look at new technology now and what we use it and how we use it, for example, space exploration, it's not a diverse situation. Tech entrepreneurs basically run the world now, and there are not many women in that league. And we want to see to it. Our mission is definitely to close the gender health gap and create really great innovative solutions for women's health problems. But it's also to sort of create an entry point for women to become tech entrepreneurs, because as Iris mentioned earlier, women are outliers in tech, in business, in startup. And women's health is probably the only space where a woman can say, I can actually say that I know something. I can claim this space. So it's a good entry point for women in becoming successful business tech entrepreneurs. And we have grown, so we have a huge European/Swedish team now, and we're also launching a hub in Nairobi. We launched in February. And since day one, the community has been sort of our engine. The word spreads fast in between women, but it's not only women in our community, it's also men. And I got the comment from a man the other day in a workshop. He said, Jennifer, I mean, we speak about women all the time, but I'm a man. I'm married to a woman, but I don't feel like a masculine man. I feel like a man with, like a person with feminine values. And this is something that we're looking into, how we can change language into, you know, and bring new perspectives into what it is to be human as well. But our community has helped us so much. And it's everything from health tech professionals to doctors to scientists, tech engineers, regular people, patients that want to change, you know, their situation, anyone, mothers and daughters. We even have teenagers in our community. So they are sort of they are our muse, and it's sort of the reason that we actually went on in the beginning, when we had no funding and didn't know how to reach out to risk capital with this huge idea. So we've been addressing the gender health gap quite a lot. I'm just going to get into it a little bit. There are all sorts of numbers and data to put forward, but we know this now, and this is why you have a theme of women's health today. It's very underinvested, it's very underexplored, and it's very unjust. 2% of health research funding is going to women's health today, and women are sicker than men. This is a fact, and you can put light on that in many different ways, but these are some numbers, and some of you have mentioned them already, but 80% of autoimmune disease affects women, and millions of women have birth-related injuries that, you know, permanent birth-related injuries. In Sweden, it's 12% of all mothers, and they could have been prevented. A woman dies from preeclampsia-related complications every 7 minutes in the world, and 25% of us consider leaving our jobs due to menopausal problems, and 10% do leave. So we're half of the population, and yet under 5% of the healthcare R&D is focused on women. And we were excluded from most clinical trials until the 1990s. I think in the US it was forbidden until 93 to include women in clinical trials, at least the stage 1. And half of all studies today still lack, you know, sex-based data analysis. And women experience longer times to diagnosis for at least 700 diseases, and we're 50% more likely to be misdiagnosed for heart attacks and autoimmune disease. Medications are twice as likely to cause adverse side effects in women, and due to our hormones, as Karin mentioned in the beginning, we're often over-medicated or wrongly medicated. And this is not just a health issue, it's an economic issue for society, and for capacity building in societies like on the African continent. And what makes it even more backwards is that we are major health consumers. We consume a lot of health services. We make 80% of the household healthcare decisions. We're 75% more likely to use health apps, and we spend 29% more than men on healthcare solutions. And still, we're very dissatisfied, especially with traditional healthcare, and there's a lot of unmet needs. Yes, and the other side of the coin is this: it's an enormous market, completely unexplored, and it's set to have like an explosive growth in the coming 3 to 5 years. And this is where venture studios come in. They come in when the market is on their way up, and they build a lot of companies on that market. So this is what we do. We look at the biggest pains in women's health, together with experts. We break them down into smaller areas and discover them, and then we start designing and prototyping solutions. Out of 100 ideas, maybe 2, 3, 4 of them become startups in the end. So we have a very high kill rate, 50% in each stage of the process. And then we take an equity stake and recruit a team, launch it on the market. Preferably, we have the team already early in the process. Preferably, someone on the team came to us with the idea. That works best. And women's health, it's not a niche, it's huge. We look into 25 verticals, but there are many, many more. And they span from period pain to being a woman in space and everything in between. So there's just so much unexplored potential, and a lot of areas where new technology actually could push new solutions because health hasn't been transformed. And I actually think that women will drive, health transformation completely because they're so leaned in as a target group and as consumers, and that will drive the development and transformation. And these are some of our startups that we made in the lab. And last year was our first year, so we focused almost completely on maternal health and also menopause. This year we're going into autoimmune disease, occupational health, and domestic violence, and some other stuff. And one particular thing that I discovered, I said in the beginning that I'm used to working with men only, and now I'm working with, almost only women. And there are huge differences in culture. So the reason we grew so fast in numbers were that the woman-to-woman communication is extremely fast and extremely strong. And I call it quantum communication because one woman's network is actually communicating to another woman's network. When you communicate to another woman, you have all of your network integrated in your communication. So it's really fast. It's completely borderless. One woman from Indonesia can meet a woman from Norway or West Africa and feel instant connection by just being a woman and experiencing the same difficulties. And it's very easy to relate to one another. And there's actually a term for this in economic theory. It's the affinity variable. It's a concept that describes how perceived mutuality in, for example, gender or values or history or geography, maybe also, it creates sort of a strong relation and more efficient economic collaboration, a more fertile ground for trade and investment and innovation. So this has been researched a lot. And I think this is the absolute core of Daya. This is what makes what we do possible. This is strong, very unique business culture that is now, appearing. That's what we see every day in between the women that we work with. And it's just replicating. So I'm just going to give you a few examples on how we leverage this and how women's health actually unites sectors or countries or different competencies that would usually never meet even. So speaking of replicating, so when we expand, the strategy has always been to expand through a local ownership on that, in that region, on that market. So we recruit a team and they found a hub in their region, and we're a co-founding partner. So they inherit and replicate our infrastructure, and we teach them how to run an innovation lab. But they have the deep local knowledge. So every hub needs to adapt to its region. It's very important. And our first hub is already running, and they already created their first startup in Nairobi. And we're exploring Japan a lot at the moment, also Canada. And US is always, US has 54% of the femtech market. But we're also speaking to representatives in India, Australia, Middle East, South Korea. So it's always moving, and it's a matter of, the laws of attraction, where we find the right people. So we found the right people in Nairobi first. Another way of using this strong way of relating to each other is in recruitment. So finding good startup founders is really difficult. So it's, innovation, anyone can do it, anyone. But creating a startup, like getting a team together that will actually also hold, is the most difficult thing you can do, I think, because it's such hardship to create something from scratch, to leave your comfort zone and to stay out of your comfort zone until you maybe succeed on something. You need to really be passionate and believe in this, and there's going to be a lot of conflict. So as a rule, the two first founders of a new startup needs to be geographically close. This is important. We learned this, but after that, you could add members from anywhere. And advisors and board members can be from any continent. It's actually a strength to have a mixed advisory board or board members and team. And as I said, women's health are bringing people together, and it's bringing sectors together. I work out of Gothenburg, Sweden is very industrial region, and from day one, the tech industry has supported us. So we still have partnerships with different tech companies that build products for us for free when they have consultants that are unassigned. You know, a huge tech consultancy always have 20% of the workforce unassigned, and then they can build for us and learn about health. Engineers very seldom get to work on actual health problems, so they are super happy. It's like dessert for them. So that's how we build a lot of our solutions and prototypes. Interventions is something that we do in the beginning when we deep dive into an area such as autoimmune disease. These are also global. Right now we're doing, I think, the world's biggest to date intervention on endometriosis, and we have patients from every continent participating and innovating on their problems together, and actually also founding startups now. And another example is space. We have gathered space professionals and put them together with doctors and designers from different cultures. And you know, the objective with this is just to create a white paper about how space exploration could turn out if women were in majority in the tech industry and in policymaking. So the first thing we noticed when we started trying to building our first tech-supported breastfeeding wearable was that there is no data on women's health. There is data, but it's scattered all over the place, and it's very difficult to find. It's difficult to find the researchers working on women's health, and they don't know about each other even. So we have a lot of different projects working on, you know, leveraging data and finding data. So Neblina is one of our startups, and it's a platform for combining smaller data sets from health apps, for example, into bigger ones that are more useful for research or for innovation. TrialMe is a solution for including more women into clinical trials. And Healy is a global project that gathers women's health researchers and also research data to find synergies and opportunities to collaborate. So at the speed we're going right now, and it's quite fast, we expect to have created over 100 femtech startups by 2030, and helped a lot of female founders to become successful and making exits. And you know, we expect to impact over 10 million women globally. And if you want to engage, we have an open door policy at Daya, so we always welcome anybody with an idea or without an idea, but maybe they just want to hang around and, you know, see what occurs, what happens. So if you maybe want to be a founder in the future, or an advisor, or part of a board, to be a board member of a startup, a company, for example, or maybe you have an idea of a location for a new hub, anything, you can just email people at daya.se, and we're always racing somewhere in the world. So if you want to spread that word, it's invest@daya.se. We're also starting a crowdfunding, a woman-to-woman crowdfunding campaign during 2025, since, you know, the relation between women to women is very strong. And if you look at the gaps in currency, so there's a lot a woman in America, for example, could do for a woman in Africa. And there are also a lot of campaigning for African Americans to actually help African Africans. And we're bringing that to Europe as well. And there's a waitlist for that. So just email invest@daya.se if you're interested to just be on a waitlist. Or you can follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. And yeah, and you're welcome to reach out to me as well if you have any questions. Thank you.
And Jennifer, thank you so much for that. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A, which depending on time, if you want to comment on those, if you see those.
Oh, sure. I couldn't see anything when I was presenting. Question to Grönqvist. While I see the value in women supporting women with shared backgrounds, I also believe deeply in broad diversity. How do you ensure the infinite variable approach doesn't unintentionally narrow inclusion by focusing too much on similarity rather than embracing real difference across gender, race, class, and percent? Yeah. So that's exactly how we're thinking. So when we started Daya Sweden, I think here in Gothenburg in the office, we have 15 different languages, so we speak English, but we noticed right away that it doesn't matter where you come from, you innovate where you are. So all of the innovations that came out were sort of adapted to white privileged women. So this we realized very early on, and that we needed to force diversity. So why we first thought of the hubs was because we needed to have an exchange for diversity purpose. We need to learn from each other. So now this is the first year we're actually gonna go through with having, hub exchange demos, so that we demo our ideas and have, brainstorm together. So this is very, very important to us. The other side of it is, I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but innovation is very homogenic, in general in the world right now, and it's a privilege. So if you have the time, if you have the space in your life to actually work on ideas, it means that you have some sort of privilege. And this is something we're also trying to change. For example, the African Hub will be sourcing a lot of grant money to enable health professionals, especially now. I mentioned the crowdfunding program is for the actual health professionals that got laid off because of the USAID withdrawal, for example. So we're looking into how to systematically activate those. I mean, in Kenya alone, it's 30,000 people. So the whole African continent is a lot. But it's an enormous question. And I'm going to say one more thing. Last year, I had a project where I had some teenagers weighing in on design. And there was this 14-year-old trans boy who asked me, like, okay, but who is Daya for? You're for women. What women? And I felt kind of stupid. I felt so dumb. And but we agreed that, and he even wrote the definition for Daya, that we are for women, anyone who defines as a woman, and everybody under the trans umbrella. So this is extremely important. Women, to say the word women even can be exclusive. But as far as skin color goes, that's already covered, and it's not the biggest problem in our innovations. It's more of a class issue and equality issue that we really want to address. Okie doke. I think that was the question, right, Viveka?
Yeah, there was also another question about how much of the money is spent on men. I think the McKinsey report kind of says that it's 4% that's women. So somebody who wants to make the math on that. So I sent that link for everyone to see.
Yeah, it's very little. I don't know the total sums, and the numbers sort of, you get different numbers from different organizations. But the 2% still holds, the health research funding. It's not fair. And And I can also say that female founders, you know how they globally receive 1% of the total of all risk capital in the world. And when it comes to femtech companies, the male-founded femtech companies receive more capital than the female-founded femtech companies as of now. So we have to work on many fronts to change this.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. And